It's a Mental Health Chat Monday, Season 3. Holy crap, Season 3. Wow. This is the podcast where we sit down with a brand new guest every week to discuss their journey with mental illness and mental wellness. Because here on Mental Health Chat Monday, our motto is turning mental illness into mental wellness. I am your host, DDare Bionic. Thank you so very much for tuning in with me this week. But I'm not why we're here. We all know that I am just the person to sit down and ask the questions and never stops talking. But we're here with my great friend, a very, very talented artist, actor, and recently minted tattoo artist.
It's true.
Fox Smith is here today. Hello.
Yes, hello. It is so good to see you.
It's so good to see you too. I can't believe it's been like 100 years since we've seen each other.
It has. I believe, if memory serves, it was actually the before times.
The before times were real.
Which was actually 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, in the olden days of yore.
It's the Titanic. It's been 84 years.
Exactly. No, exactly. It's been so long. So,
yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yes.
What are your pronouns? Tell everybody who you are, what you do. I know I just kind of introduced yourself, but tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Yeah. I'll try to do as good of a job as you did. But yes, I am Fox Smith, or Rocket Fox. I go by a lot online. I am an artist, a storyteller, illustrator, recently anointed by the state tattoo artist. I am currently resuming my master's program for art therapy and counseling. I hang out a lot. I do perform. I feel like that's most of the bases. I speak nationally on various topics relating to storytelling, minority experiences, and mental wellness and things of that nature as well. So I'm super honored and thrilled to be here.
Oh, I'm honored to have you. Oh my God. What y'all need to understand is that we met doing theater.
Yes.
Did we do a show before Kimchi and Chitlins together, or was that?
I feel like we did. I feel like we had crossed paths, but unless we go through every show we've ever been in, I don't know if I'll remember which one.
Yeah. I know it had to be something with solid lines.
Yes.
Because that's where Kimchi and Chitlins was. And Kimchi and Chitlins was such a fabulous show.
Oh, it was
so great.
It was so good. For anybody who's curious, theater curious or theater adjacent, it is an amazing show written by a playwright out of LA who we actually were able to bring in to direct the show, which was amazing. But it's essentially about racial tension between an Asian grocer that's in a black neighborhood and how kind of a mishap or miscommunication leads to this whole bigger picture thing. And there's a Chinese reporter who is ethnically American but ethnically Chinese, and that comes into play as part of the show, who comes in is trying to find out the real truth about what happened. And it's a very interesting piece. It has there is the black chorus and the Asian chorus, and in very Greek dramaturgy style.
It's very, very that, yes.
Yeah, and there are some hilarious moments. I just remember there's one moment in where both sides are retelling the story from the other perspective.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And so you have Asian people playing black people playing Asian people.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did this, I look out at the audience and they are sitting there with their mouths agape. They look like someone has just flashed. I don't know. They look horrified.
It is shocking in all the best ways, and I just remember having such a positive experience with that show because I came in during Tech Week.
You were a rock star. You came in and just memorized I've never seen.
And it's easy when there are good people in the show, and it's easy when the director is so close to the script, and it's also really easy when the script is so good. I mean, that play is so well written.
Fun. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And not a thing that people really think about, the racial tensions between the Asian American community and the African American community is something that is very important and should be talked about more. But I was whoa, what a piece! What
a piece, yeah. And it does for being such a serious topic.
It's very silly.
It is so funny. It is so funny. She made it just hilarious, and I recall the first 2 nights we did the show, we did these really funny moments, and the audience is just like staring, kind of like side-eyeing each other, like,
are we supposed to laugh?
And I'm thinking, like, we know the script, like, we're performing this. We have read this material.
Yes, we are okay with this.
Right, and it wasn't until we had a couple African-American ladies in the audience who, like, just scream, and then everyone else, like, you could hear the collective sigh of relief of, like, oh, we can laugh.
Oh, it is supposed to be funny. All right, it's not serious. It really, I just remember it being so silly, and I remember us being backstage, like, during intermission, you're like, are we doing okay? Is everything okay?
Are they mad at us?
Like, did we do something wrong? What's happening? Like, is the show good? Right. And then those ladies, I mean, I remember them scream laughing, and I was like, finally.
Yes, bless them.
Finally. That's the thing about theater, too, is like, a lot of times, even when it's a show that's a known farce or like something that's known to be funny, people still are like, am I supposed to be laughing? And they need that permission from somebody who is like, I'm going to laugh at this because it's funny.
Well, and alternatively, there was a piece that I saw that did you see Equivocation when it was happening? So essentially it's a fantastic play. It's basically, the main character is Shakespeare, and it's where Shakespeare is commissioned to write about the gunpowder plot. And much like a detective, he goes in and starts interviewing people in prison and things like that, and like finding out more and more truths about what went on, and is like, I don't feel comfortable writing this in a way that's not going to get me in major trouble. And so the idea behind, like, how is he going to write this play so that the king doesn't, put him in prison?
Yeah.
But, like, also while telling the truth, and how can you tell the truth in a way that's a roundabout truth and not a lie per se, but not going to get you in trouble. And there's one moment when the main antagonist is talking to Shakespeare, basically, and it's this meta moment when he's talking about how, years from now, people are going to come see your shows and think that they're better people for it, and, like, they're going to leave completely unchanged and all this stuff. And, like, it's a really it's actually, like, a very, like, harrowing moment.
I'm gonna have to add that to our list of shows too.
It's fantastic.
We have, so a lot of you know that I've started a theater company. Well, my friend Jazz has started a theater company. I'm on there with him. Where's our reading list?
And I can send it to you.
Yes, send it to me, because, like, I don't want to dig through it. Like,
it's amazing. Like, this one part is amazing though, and then, like, I remember the last night I saw it, because I went and saw it twice. Like, this happens and then people start laughing. I was like, that's not funny. That's actually very upsetting.
That uncomfortable laughter is like,
well, no, people were like, people going to see Shakespeare and thinking they're better. And I'm like, that's literally. but
some
okay.
People are changed. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Listen, y'all, I love theater. I have not acted in 7 years.
7 years?
7 years.
Oh my gosh.
I have not been on a stage
we'll
in that way.
Back on the stage.
Well, I stopped on purpose. And that's also a story for another time. But I was realizing it the other day, because in my Facebook memories, a lot of my last shows are starting to show up.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, whoa, this was a whole nother life.
That's 3 years from a decade.
Yeah.
That will alarm you.
and that's why I'm like, can I make it the full decade? Mm-hmm. Can I? Because I've been kind of starting to get the itch, especially doing the stuff with Aquarian Rising. I've been kind of starting to get the itch again. We'll see what happens.
You are a force to be reckoned with on the stage.
Well, stop it. Thank you very much.
But if you do make it a decade, what you can do is, at that 10-year mark, be in everything.
Every show.
All of a sudden, every show will have your face.
All the auditions. You're never going to not see me on stage.
Yes, as it should be.
My mom has been really on me. She's like, I just wish you would start acting again. I love your music, and I love seeing you perform music, but I just miss seeing you in this play. And I'm like, girl, stop it. Stop it.
That's support.
My mom's the best. She is the most amazing human being on the planet Earth, and I could not, nobody will ever change my mind about that.
I love it. Yeah. I love that so much.
So, I start these episodes every single time the same way. Mental health check. How are you on this 14th day of the month of April in the year of our Lord and Savior, Megan Thee Stallion, 2025?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay today. Mm-hmm. Last night was a little rough. I'll be real about that. Had a little conflict with the partner, and like some stuff came to the surface for me that I was like, oh, you know that stuff that you've been compartmentalizing? Turns out that it's still there. It's still there. And maybe learning how to deal with like high intensity conflict before you're in that moment, which is something I would say to anyone.
Yeah.
But it's different for yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Those who can't do teach.
Exactly.
That's why I do the podcast.
And like so it's and we took a walk this morning and I felt fine, and then after he headed off, I was by myself and I was like, I really need to feel this, I need to process this. So I had a little bit of a tear time and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't feel good. It's weird processing this.
Yeah.
And it feels strange. And then I had coffee with my neighbor who I haven't seen in a long time.
Lovely.
And that felt a little better. Now I'm here and that feels a lot better. But
good.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, it's a space that I think is a really good growth opportunity for me. Because you kind of got to hit those moments in order to be like, oh, yes, I do see.
Right.
I do see how that is.
I have not checked this unchecked box.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I tend to continually surprise myself by thinking that I'm really in touch with my deeper feelings and realizing I am in touch with my surface feelings, and that's great. But like, you get down to those deeper levels, it's like, oh, that's some sort of
that's something squishy,
in
and I don't know how I feel about that.
Right, like that is some sort of feral just landscape.
Yes. What are these beasts?
Right.
It's
me.
They all have my face. Why do they have
my God.
I relate so deeply to that because I was telling you before we started filming, I lost my brother in August. You all know all about that. And in going through grief and processing those emotions, it also is bringing up a lot of the stuff that I didn't realize I hadn't touched in myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, I thought I was past all this. So I get it. And I'm fortunate to have really positive influences in family in my life and a partner who was like also on a healing journey and 100% down to like do the nitty-gritty work and help me and
so good.
We help each other. It's really, really, really a beautiful, positive experience.
That's amazing.
But also really scary because why does the beast have my face?
Why am I looking at myself?
And it's scaring me.
Right. Why am I looking back at myself?
Exactly. Who is that girl I see? For real though, it's very scary. So you talked a little bit in the beginning in your intro while you were introducing yourself about going back to your master's program.
Yes.
Talk to me about your journey with mental health and mental wellness and like what led you to getting your master's in art therapy and counseling.
Yeah, so I have a really long and varied history with mental health. Initially, my parents had gotten divorced when I was 5, I want to say, and my dad actually put me in therapy like right away.
Immediately? Wow.
So I was in therapy from that point. I've had non-therapy times, but like at various different times since. And I'm super grateful and privileged that like he was a very strong proponent of like feelings and mental health and stuff like that. And there's some areas in which like helping a child learn their emotions and stuff like that could have possibly have been done better and things like that. But I think he was working with what he had, and that really got me thinking in terms of like, oh, therapy is a normal thing that everyone does. And I am so grateful that that's becoming more and more the case now.
Yes.
But, aside from that, like, depression runs in my family really bad. Anxiety, like suicidal ideation. I've been a self-harmer when I was younger and things like that. And, just various things that kind of coalesce together. And also in talking to a lot of people too, just kind of seeing the experiences that other people have and different stories and the moments that we all share and things that are kind of different, I think is really, like, that's something that I'm super passionate about as well. And I think especially for creative people, we draw a lot from that. And a lot of the stuff that I'll say for myself, I imagine for you as well, just based on the projects that you do, you draw from that well to try and reach other people who are going through the same thing and really like open up that dialogue and build that community. And I think that's so important. And it's just something that I've always had
Yeah.
a real passion for.
I mean, I say it all the time. That's why I do this podcast, because everybody's story is different, but there are little connection points, like you said, and every single person who has struggled or who has dealt with suicidal ideation or depression or whatever the mental illness may be, there are little nuggets of connectivity in all of us. And in my art, I say all the time, in submissions, when I'm telling people, like, book me for my show, like, my art is to heal the world. Like,
I love it. I love
it
that
helps
so much.
heal me, of course, because, you know, I write about my depression, my suicidal ideation, my all the things that have happened in my life, my trauma, but I give those stories to people in an abstract way, and you get to interpret whatever you want from it, but just interpret it how you feel. Let the music, let the art, let the podcast, let whatever I'm saying, let you feel, and like it's giving people that space
and permission.
And permission, yes.
You know, because I think, especially speaking not as a male identifying person, but I think it is a lot harder. Just societally for dudes to be able to really be vulnerable, you know, and even as a lady presenting person and for the most part identifying person, like, I'm realizing more and more, especially like today, just like, man, vulnerability, like, that's not comfortable, you know, and if it's that hard for me, who grew up in a society that says, like, oh yeah, have your feelings, talk to your girlfriends, like get deep in there, you know, how much harder is it for people who it's like, you don't cry, you don't have feelings, you don't do this, you know, and like that's rough for everybody, you know?
And I'm very fortunate to have grown up in a household where emotions were important and feelings were important. And I say this all the time too. I say to my brothers when I hang up the phone, love you. Like my sister, my mom, anybody, my friends, no matter how they identify. If I love you, I love you. If I'm feeling emotions, if I feel a type of way, I'm going to share those emotions and feelings with you. Vulnerability is something that is very hard for me, and I am working on that. But I am fortunate to have grown up in a house where, like, my mom was like, no, do you need to talk to somebody? Do you want to talk to somebody?
I love that.
Which is not always the case in the Black community. And I'm wondering if that is similar in the Asian community as well.
Oh. Oh, is it? Like,
I had an inclination.
Well, and it's so different. And I was raised very white. You know, my father is white, my mother's Korean. And it's, even though she left home at a very early age, she grew up in a super rural, like, farming village. And just, she takes a personal umbrage with, like, the Korean culture for some reason, you know. And I mean, there's just a lot about that she doesn't really resonate with. Yeah. But it's interesting to see how much she's, I don't want to say hostage to, but kind of, you know.
It's kind of ingrained in who she is.
Yeah, yeah. And mental health particularly is, and I speak from the things that I've read and from my own personal experience, and not, you know, I don't want to be a monolithic voice.
We are not generalizing. We are not speaking for the entireties of our communities or intersectionalities, but but it is tending to be, like, less of a thing where Asian people will seek mental health care and things like that. Like, there was a situation where the last time we had gone to Korea to visit family, before my mother cut off her siblings and said she was an orphan. Wow, that's deep. Which, to some degree, I'm like, Mom, we're being a little dramatic here. Calm down, lady.
But like, my aunt was displaying some things that I was talking to my dad later, just some unusual temperamental changes and things like that, and like some body tics that were a little bit different. My dad was like, oh, it looks visually like she might be coming down with Parkinson's. I was like, oh wow, is someone gonna tell her? Or like, is she gonna go to the doctor? Or like, and he was like, no, probably not. And I'm like,
all right, I guess.
You know, but that's how it is. It's like, it's very, it's connecting via, like, asking for help is in a way being like showing vulnerability is almost like showing shame in a way, you know, and it's a very, like, respect-driven society. And I think that is starting to change a little bit in the younger years. But admitting that you're having trouble with something like that is very difficult, and especially something that is a less individually focused society and much more of like, you are a part of the whole, you represent the whole, like everything I do represents my mother, and you know, if I do anything wrong, it now shines on the family, and
dishonor on everyone.
Yes, dishonor on your house, on your
yes, a plague, a pox on all your houses.
Right, yes.
You know, and it's kind of, again, not generalizing or being monolithic, but it is very similar in the Black community. I feel that we, especially Black men, are very much like, well, no, I actually think it's worse on Black women that, you know, they are, of course, encouraged to be feminine and delicate, but also have to be so strong and matriarchal and take care of everything. Everything. Even their husbands, as if they are their children.
Right.
And that comes from years of slavery and all this stuff, and being marginalized and being oppressed and all of that. And I too see a shift. And I feel, I worry sometimes that the shift is more of a like shifting apart of the family and not necessarily shifting the family with. Like, I feel like my family is coming, at least my mom. I feel like my mom is coming with me. Not that I felt any of that from her. I feel like her passing her story, and she will be on an episode. She actually really wants to do this.
That's going to be amazing.
It's going to be tears. It's going to be tears. But I see her coming to me and being like, is this something that is XYZ? Is this something that, and like asking the questions that I don't expect people, you know, my mom's 60, she'll be 61 this year, that I don't see a lot of 60-year-old African-American people asking. And a lot of us in the 30s, 40s, 20s range are like, we're just not doing that anymore. Like, we're just straight up not doing that anymore. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the family. It doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to do that. And there's this respectability politics that is like, you have to respect your elders simply because they're your elders. And if you don't respect them, you don't respect anybody. And like, no, it just, you have to respect me too. It's a two-way street.
Right. And it's hard to some degree because, and I, when I met up with my neighbor earlier for coffee, we were talking beforehand, she's delightful. She's 73.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God.
She is great. And, the next part I'm going to say you can totally cut out if you want. We started talking about just like the state of the world. She's like, I never, and she comes across as so sweet, so just like, you know, she's always talking like this, and she's like, I never thought I would see like this, the world like this, and you know, I never thought, like, we were protesting in the 60s and all this stuff, and she goes, yeah, Trump's a son of a bitch. I'm like, Vicky, he sure is.
He sure is, Vicky. Thank you, Vicky. We love you, Vicky.
But like, one of the things I was talking to her about too is like this, like, we have division in so many places. We have division like between minority groups. We have division between socioeconomic groups. We have division between age groups too, to where it's like, you know, you have people who are accustomed to having things a certain way, and change is hard. Change is scary.
Yeah, it's hard and scary.
You know,
yes.
and like I've caught myself saying, like, you know, the kids are ungrateful.
I'm only 32, and I'm like, these kids, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
You know, they've got a lot of entitlement, these young people. You know, and like, but there is this division that happens that is so widespread right now that like it's very siloed in a way, and we're a communal people, you know, and like, and I think one of the things about therapy, like, you get to have that connection and that support, you know, from a professional, which I think is very important. Yeah. But like, how many people aren't fortunate enough to also, in addition to that, have a good support system, like a family support system, you know? I know for my ex, like, he dealt with a lot, some of which I put him through, admittedly, you know, but he never talked to anybody about that. And it ended up growing resentment, and we, you know, ended up separating a few years ago. Yeah. But he just never had, and he had close friends, but they never spoke about deeper and vulnerable stuff.
They don't go that deep. Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful, and we're still on good terms. Like, I'm grateful that he's been able to do that more now. But like, I can't even imagine, you know, because I do have a good support system, but I still find myself at times being like, oh, there's no one to talk to.
There's nobody to talk to, yeah. What am I gonna, I just need to keep it to myself.
Right, exactly, you know, and if you don't have those avenues open, like, I can't even imagine how isolating that must feel.
Yeah.
You know?
I couldn't imagine doing it without art. Like, genuinely, art is not the only thing, but like, when I was younger and I was kind of keeping it more to myself, I utilized art, specifically theater, to claw myself out of it and kind of, I always say I started doing theater because I didn't want to be myself, and it was more fun.
Don't talk about me that way.
Relatable. It was more fun to be somebody else. Yeah. I didn't want to be this person, and I didn't want to, well, not this person, the person I was back then, because I'm very different from when I was 16 years old, thank God. But, you know, I started it because I didn't want to be myself, and I didn't want to...
Well, you know, like, and that makes me think, just as you say that, theater is also a place where you have permission to access those feelings, you know, in a way that's open, in a way that's public, you know? Whereas, you know, I cannot cry in front of people. I can't do it. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, me too.
I had a therapist that I was seeing twice a week, once a week, twice a week, once a week for like 4 years. Never shed a drop. Wow. Because I just, like, it makes me so uncomfortable. Like, and that's a me issue to figure out at some point. But like, I've shed a tear on stage, you know.
Many times.
It's so different. But it's, even when you're drawing from that internal experience and you yell at somebody, or you're laughing, or you crying on stage, you're still accessing those emotions. That's still letting that catharsis out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that is really, we are very similar, because crying in front of people is so hard for me, and I've done it a lot lately.
Good
over the past
you.
7 months.
I'm proud of you. That's wonderful.
I remember before this experience of crying, the last time I think I cried in front of another person was like over a decade ago, and I remember the moment, and I was sobbing, and like there were people around me, and police were being called, and all this stuff was happening, and the only thing I was thinking about was the fact that I was crying and everybody around me was watching. I felt I couldn't see anything through the tears, but I felt like everybody was staring at me, and then I started crying harder because I was crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, in my mind, I was like, what the fuck is happening? I have a reason to be crying, but it's not because I'm crying. Why am I? What is going on? Oh, it was insane. That was a crazy time in life. So, speaking of art and utilizing art as a tool to kind of help us access our emotions, how does your art help you to access your emotions? How do you bring your journey into your art?
Well, on the one hand, kind of as you said for theater, like, it's a great way to just, in a selfish way, access emotions and also just have fun. Like, it is also a lot of fun.
Yes.
But I think also being able to pull from that and then feel certain things in a safe space, and also get the satisfaction of having people like what you're doing.
Yes.
You know, so it feeds the ego, it feeds the soul.
We are all Tinkerbell. Every theater, every performer is Tinkerbell. If you do not clap for us, we will die.
Right, it is true.
It is true.
And I haven't been on stage since last summer, and I feel my soul just withering. But so there is that element of it too when it comes to performing, and then. Aside from that, though, I tend to like to draw from my experiences in a way that I feel can be helpful for people. And normally, and I would recommend this as well as doing it for myself, like, you want to be in a safe zone in your own internal space. Like, if something is too close or something is, like, right there, it's not the time to, like, thrust it upon someone else. It's like, it needs to be safe for you first and foremost. But then, like, being able to utilize that, for example... One of the, I do go onto Reddit, I will say it.
I just got on Reddit myself. I haven't, like, posted anything, but I'm, like, looking around and watching.
Oh, well, and the thing is, too, I will say this. If you curate your experience, It doesn't have to be bad.
Okay.
there are good spaces there.
Okay, good.
But one of the spaces that I follow is a subreddit called Witches vs. Patriarchy. Highly would recommend for you specifically.
We'll be logging in.
But I started doing this thing, and it actually started because there's various different makeup subreddits, and I was doing what, and I still do on occasion, but like these really eclectic makeup looks. Beautiful makeup looks. Thank you. And somebody was like, oh, put it over here. They'll really like it. And so I started doing it, but then I started pairing it with like, you're powerful. You're more powerful than you know. You've got this today. You know, and people really started responding to that. And one post that I had done that was really a key moment for me was just that, and I don't even remember what the top, like I don't remember what I said, I don't remember anything about it, but it had to do with like self-harm and things like that. And all of a sudden, there were a lot of people in there being like, I'm really struggling with this, and like other people from the community showing up and being like, oh, like talk to us about, like, how can we help you, and things like that. And
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and seeing that unfold and being like, I had something to do with this, you know, is just, it is one of those feelings where it's like, oh, there's meaning in that. Like, that gives me a purpose. That gives me a meaning.
Yeah,
you know?
It's gratifying.
And I actually have been talking recently about this because I've been thinking the wheels have been turning, as it were, but I am really wanting to figure out a way. So the term tattoo therapy is used frequently, but I have yet to see somebody who's licensed in both and actually combining them.
Oh, wow.
So that's something that I'm very interested in doing. And there's a couple different avenues that I'm interested in taking. Like, I did a tattoo that was over self-harm scars before, and things like that. Like, I know that there are people who will do free tattoos for people who've been involved in human trafficking and like, you know, reclamation of something that might be a tattoo they were forced to get or something like this. But somebody had mentioned to me when I was talking about it at the shop the other day, the idea of working with the VA and like military personnel who have gone through PTSD and stuff like that, and like working to reclaim like scars and things like that. And there is something about being able to visually reclaim the body in a way that I think is very profound. And there is also something straight up about pain that really helps you access some things that are really deep down. Yeah. Like there was somebody who came in, a client who, not my client, but who had just lost their grandmother and was getting a piece that was in reference to like the matriarchal line. And during a certain portion, just tears, you know, and not from the tattooing is not a fun experience per se.
Y'all have seen me, I'm covered.
But like at the same time, it wasn't that though. It was like being like, this is such an important moment. This is an important piece. Like, and they said to, they're like, I'm sorry, I don't know why. And you know, everyone there is like, no, it's like,
this is a space for that.
Yeah. And it will get to something within you for sure. And being able to be in a space where you can let go and can like, you know, it's hard to really focus on the shame when you're like, I'm being pummeled with needles right now.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And I think that's very freeing in a way. So that is kind of the where to that I'm interested in taking it. So I
have never heard of tattoo therapy before. I've never heard the term used before, but that is so. I mean, it makes so much sense. Yeah. As someone who loves tattoos and will be soon getting a memorial tattoo, and like it's such a beautiful way to help somebody reclaim, like you said, reclaim their body and reclaim who they are, and oh wow, that's so beautiful. What a beautiful thing.
I'm really interested in it, and normally when people are using the term, it's like almost like shopping therapy, like you know, I'm feeling the funk. Let's put some ink on there, you know. But like one of the things that I'm actually really excited about, and this is such a nerdy area to go with this, and I'm so excited. But like the idea of like, man, because this is something that I feel would be a relatively new venture as far as like, because you've got animal therapy, you've got therapy that deals with like horses, you've got dance therapy, you've got, I mean, there's all sorts of different things. And I feel like in order to approach this properly, I would want to like talk to psychiatrists, talk to doctors, talk to people who know, you know, like especially if I'm wanting to work with, you know, veterans or something like that. Talk to people who've done studies. Yeah. Talk to people who know well more about it than I do, and figure out ways to incorporate that and like do it right. But like the idea of being able to like learn more about it and talk to these people, I think is a really fascinating. We're building something here.
I can feel the excitement radiating off of you, and it's making me excited as if I'm going to be doing tattoo therapy on somebody. That is so beautiful. Tattoos are important. Mm-hmm. They're on your body forever.
They are.
We kind of talked about tattoos a little bit before we hopped on and started recording and all that stuff. When did you get your first tattoo?
So my first tattoo was this little thing on my wrist here. It says "Love" in Korean. Mm-hmm. It's in my handwriting. Mm-hmm. There really wasn't a reason. I was visiting a friend of mine in college, and there was a tattoo shop there. And I was like, "This is the time. Now is the place."
Now is the time.
Yeah, and I did that, and it's so funny because when we were talking about it before. Mm-hmm. One of the things I had said too was like, "Oh, your first tattoo, you put so much thought into the meaning and all this stuff," which I think a lot of people do. Alternatively, some people will get wild shit. Yeah. Like some people will get the most off the wall stuff and be like, "Look at this that I got." And it's like, "Oh, that was a choice that you did."
Yeah, my first tattoo was Jack Skellington. It's right here.
Okay, we're not talking about really cool tattoos. Okay,
it's just his face.
Oh, I love it.
It is. Where's his face? I'm like looking.
Sir, if you think I'm not intimately
familiar with I know, but I'm like, it just like literally pick a random face of Jack, and it's that right there. And I was 17, and I was like, but I didn't think really hard about it. But when I think about this tattoo, Nightmare Before Christmas is the first movie I ever remember seeing. It is my absolute favorite movie of all time. I can watch it at any time of year. I can sing it, speak it, forwards, backwards, and sideways.
Oh, I love that so much.
And I got it when I was 17, and it reminds me of my childhood because my childhood was so beautiful, and my teenage years were not. Gotcha. And so, in a way, it kind of circled back around to have a deeper meaning. But really, I was just like, I really want a tattoo, and I think I just want Jack Skellington. Like, I wanted something simple that wasn't going to hurt too bad. And
right. Well, and
here we go.
It's interesting, though, because if you really do a deep dive into psychology and stuff, like, I imagine people who even just pick a flash for their first piece, like there's a reason why you're choosing that. You know, like you could throw a coin at it and see where it lands, but if you are picking something, there's something that's drawing you to that. And so I would wager that if we sit down with anybody who's gotten a first tattoo that's just like and sit down and really think it through, like, what drew you to this? What does this mean to you? I imagine there's probably something there. There's
there for everybody.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot one might be able to discover too about themselves, just being like, why did I pick this? What was the rationale? Like, what drew me to this so strongly?
And that would be a beautiful something to also go into with tattoo therapy. Like, if somebody's getting their first tattoo, that would be insane. So how, outside of the tattoo therapy? The tattoo therapy aspect of tattooing, what really, I don't know, what drew you to tattooing? I know you're a fabulous artist. I already know. You can check all of Fox's work out I will be linking it obviously down below. But what brought you to tattooing as a way of art?
This is actually a very meandering, but I will make succinct story.
Please meander, please.
So when I was younger, I was raised primarily by my dad as my primary caregiver, who was very chill. And at a certain point when I was younger, I was just like, I'm going to get a tattoo. And he was like, all right, whatever, and not in that moment I intended for when I'm older and stuff.
Right.
So I was never raised with the idea that like tattoos don't do that. And so in part as well, being biracial and being Korean in a primarily white area, it's the sort of thing that I always experienced like, well, you don't belong here and you also don't belong here. Like if I'm around Korean people, they either know that I'm not full Korean or sometimes think that I'm Chinese. I've gotten a lot, but and white people clearly know that I'm not fully white. So there's always this like liminal space that you're hovering around in. And I remember, being really uncomfortable when people would be looking at me. And part of my own mental health thing is I always assume people are looking at me anyway, even if, you know, which is part of why I became a performer.
Yep.
And part of why I became alternative, because I was like, oh, you're fucking gonna look at me.
I'm gonna give you something to look at.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're gonna really, like, put something in there. And I will say, ever since I started doing more, like, I started with the hair, and I would wear, like, back in the Avril Lavigne days, a little button-up shirt with a tie, and, like, you know, all this stuff. And, but I realized that people don't ask me about, like, my ethnicity as much when I'm covered in tattoos. You know, people will be more of like, oh, I like your ink, or oh, I like your crazy outfits, and you know, things like that. And on occasion, some people still do, and it's fine, you know. But that's kind of where that really started kicking off. And I actually was, for the longest time, interested in getting into tattooing.
I mean, it really does make sense.
Yeah, and I just,
really,
like,
really
I love body art. I love, you know, for myself, for other people. I love illustrating and things like that. And it is a way that you can be an artist and make money, for one. But I never really knew how to go about doing an apprenticeship, so I just didn't for a really long time. And then when I was, later 30s, I heard about somebody, because at that point I was like, I'm going to do it. I've jumped into my master's, I'm going to find an apprenticeship. That's what I'm going to do. And there was a local artist who was taking applications, which is an unusual process for an apprenticeship. But I went and I filled one out, and they got in touch with me, and essentially it broke down to I was too old. They wanted someone who had not been on any other life path, and things like that. And to credit of the community, anyone who I've talked to, including all my tattoo artist friends that I have a number of, were like, that's very strange. I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, that's wild. Like, I get to change my life whenever I want to.
You're right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, and so there, eventually, like, I happened to meet Jackie, who's my mentor, at, like, through another tattoo event that I went to one time, where it was, like, at a studio, but people were just doing art and stuff like that. And I started just, and for anybody who's interested in becoming an apprentice, this is kind of how it's done. I started just hanging around. You just start hanging around. Hey, what's up? And she knew I was looking for, but I never asked her, because she was busy and all this stuff, and it's like a one-person shop. But I would just, like, I was around. I'd come and visit the shop when they first opened, and I was like, and I'd come in and, like, hang out, and eventually it was like, oh, sometimes her partner couldn't be there, so she'd be in the shop by herself, and I'd be like, I'm happy to sit here and watch the door, like, that's fine. And eventually the day came when she asked, she's like, you want to be my apprentice? And I was like, hell yeah.
Thank you. That's what I've been trying to
and so then, and realistically, like, I'm so grateful, because she's an incredible artist. She's a great person. And I mean, we were besties before, you know, entering into the apprentice mentor kind of situation and stuff like that. And, like, I'm going to be staying at the shop for a good long time. Like, I really enjoy it. It's basically like a little family. Whereas I feel like had I gone with this other one, I would have been miserable.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it just would not have been for me. So that's the roundabout of how I got here. But it's something that I always had wanted to do. It's just, opportunity came when it was supposed to, I guess. Yeah,
that's so cool. It really, I can't say enough how much sense it makes for you to be. Your art is so graphic and striking, and, like, when I'm scrolling and I see something you posted, like a new illustration that you did, I have to stop, and I'm like, yes, oh my god, oh, this is amazing.
Thank you.
When illustrating, a lot of your illustrations include text, and
they sure do.
I love the thing I loved most when I was in graphic design school. I did not graduate, but the thing I loved the most was so overrated. Like, I loved my experience in college. It was great. I was there for 4 months. I learned a lot in 4 months. But the thing I loved the most was, like, learning typography and, like, learning how to utilize it. So how has using your words in your visual art, how has that been different from using your words as a theater artist?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I like it.
Thank you. It just popped up in my head.
Yeah, so a lot of for anyone who hasn't seen my work, which I'll imagine, unless you've specifically looked with me, a lot of people, it'll be like a little illustrated graphic and then a banner that kind of goes around it that'll say like, I don't know, pump up the jam or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I like combining things that are kind of tongue in cheek, and that can, both elements will reinforce the other in kind of a different sort of way. So for example, here, let's see one more recent.
Let's do it.
An example, but I don't remember the last one that I did. Oh!
If you're watching, I'll put the graphic up on the screen. But if you're listening, you'll have to go to YouTube and watch it.
And just imagine
use your brain.
Also, as an aside, the program is Audition.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so apparently Audition can do that. Which it sounds like you already have.
Locking that in.
But yeah, okay, so for example, the last one I did is, it's a little cute Godzilla. It says, "Go, go, Godzilla."
I love it so much.
Which, for this one, the creation process was just, "Go, go, Godzilla" popped in my mind. I don't know if I'd been listening to Blue Oyster Cult. I don't know what happened, but "Go, go, Godzilla" popped up in my mind. And then I just envisioned him in a little, like, Inspector Gadget coat. And
it's so funny.
And so, like, those things playing off each other. Because, you know, Go Go Godzilla, that's what makes me think of. And I feel like without that, it's really only half the piece. It only has half the story without the text. And I've done a number of them, too, that are more in these times and places and days, more socially minded oriented and things of that nature. You know, where there might be one that says, like, punch the patriarchy or something like that.
I have actually my freaking keychain that I bought from you.
Oh, yes. Abort the patriarchy.
So yes, abort the patriarchy.
Oh, well, it's not going to be broken for long. I'll get you another one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it was a talking point whenever somebody saw my keys, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, and I think really that's kind of the answer to it, is just that, like, I'll do something that'll have a word, and I use that word to inspire what the imagery shall be.
And that's like your symbol. Like, I love the half moon and the cross.
Usually on a skull. Or my own skull. But yeah, so it's something to where I feel like the word will add something to the image will add something to the word. Like, they're partners in that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, really fun, because my brain is both visual and word oriented. So, you know, I write a lot, but I also draw a lot, and I really like places. I mean, even similarly with tattoo and therapy, like, I like bringing intersections of things together.
Yeah, I see that.
I see that. So.
Yeah. That is, I love your art. I love everything you do. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Where am I at? Who are we talking about? What's happening? Where am I?
Who am I?
So, you write, you just said.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about writing a play?
I actually have. I have very much thought about it before. Like, there's a few different ideas that I've had, and I don't know what's keeping me from. I used to write a bunch of them when I was younger. Like, when I was kid age, I wrote, like, very metaphor-based kind of stuff, to where it's like, one person in a room, and this person represents the everyman, and then, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff that's perhaps loftier than we really need to go. But, like, I've definitely thought about it, and I think for me, there is still a part of me that, like, even when I post these pictures to, again, the Witches versus Patriarchy subreddit, and the last one I posted, humble brag, I posted the one where I was with my tattoo license, and being like, I did this, and I always try and phrase things in a way, it's like, I want to share this with this amazing community, but also, what are you proud of? Like, what, you know, let's all come together.
Let's make this
Let's make this a group activity here. But, like, I got, I think, like, over 8,000 upvotes on it. Whoa. And the thing is, every time I go to post something on there, though, and I always get, like, a lot of positive feedback and attention, but every time I go to post something, I'm like, it's just my face. That feels like, does anybody want to see me, and stuff. And and people was like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. Like, it's so, your words are so nice and stuff. But there's, I guess imposter syndrome might be a word for it.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, I mean, am I being too self-absorbed? Am I, is it about me? As opposed to like being about
But things, it should be about you. You deserve to have things that are about you, that are important to you. And like, you deserve to be self-absorbed and like humble brag a little bit when you have such
so
amazing.
Weird.
I know, it feels so strange, and I'm saying this to you and me because I have the same.
Absolutely.
I have the same feeling sometimes where I'm like, okay, I've already posted about my album once. That's more than enough. Like, I don't
so hard.
need to talk about it anymore.
Like, self-promotion is so wild.
Yes,
it is so, and that's kind of the world we live in now, though, especially as an artist. Like, if you want to be an artist, you are also a social media manager.
Yep.
You are also an ad manager.
Yep.
You're your own hype man, a marketing person, business person,
doing everything, all the things, all the time.
It's just, I mean, that's its own mental health journey.
It really is. And I took a couple months off of social media at the end of last year, and it was like the best 2 months of my life. And then I came back, and of course came back to the shitstorm that is our country right now, but also social media in general. And I have done a pretty good job of curating my social media to a point where I don't see too much. I see just enough to be like, okay, I'm informed. That's all I need. I don't need to be doom scrolling and but it is taxing being your own media manager, artist, designer, producer, right? Like it is insane to have to do all these things.
Well, and especially when you're coming from a background of like, oh, I need to be humble. I can't brag. I can't be proud. And all this stuff. I mean, you can, but within reason. Don't have an ego.
Exactly. I know you just did 20K, like people 20K streams, but don't talk about it.
Right? Like I don't.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's even just like going back to the idea of mental health. It's such and shame, particularly. It's interesting how we are, I'm going to say, taught to be ashamed of ourselves. It's like if something goes wrong, that's your fault. You shouldn't have done it. If something goes right, that's just how it was supposed to be. You don't really celebrate that.
It was meant to be, yeah.
Right, like you just did what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And so we go through lives really not learning how to celebrate ourselves and our wins and even small ones. Much less something to where it's like, you did a good job. Take a moment and feel that.
Yeah. It's funny. I was saying that we were Tinkerbell earlier.
Right.
Because like also if you clap for us, we will die still.
Right. We're going to die anyway.
Either way, we're gonna die. If you're celebrating us or you're not celebrating us, we're gonna die.
If you celebrate us too much, whoa. That's very uncomfortable.
There's a volume meter. I need you to be under the level. Like I need you to stay in this realm of celebration. Thank you very much.
Right.
I had a weird experience. It's not weird. It's actually a really, really great experience, and I shared it online. The other day because I was like having a weird mental struggle with my music and like not feeling heard and feeling invisible in the community and all this stuff. And then somebody came up to me at a concert. I was just like plain clothes, not dressed up. My beard's not even dyed anymore. Like I am assimilating back into the real world and like just out to experience vibes. And like went to see Tank of Bangas. Love Tank of the Bangas. The message at the end of the show was like speaking directly to my heart. I'm sobbing. It's amazing. And then I'm leaving the show and like somebody recognizes me for my music. And I'm like, whoa, this is like the universe being like, there's a drop in your bucket and then here's another drop in your bucket. And like my partner has been celebrating that and telling everybody about it.
Oh my God,
every time we see somebody, he's like, did you know that this thing happened to Darius and it was so amazing and blah, blah, blah. He should be so excited about it. And I'm like, okay.
I'm too seen right now.
Wait a minute. It's wild how we, like you said, have been taught to just be like, to downplay those things that are incredible. I've been doing music for a decade.
You've earned it.
I've worked hard for it. But I'm also like, thank you.
Well, yeah, and it's I've always heard that said this way, like when we're not vulnerable with people, especially that we're close to, we rob them of the opportunity to be there for us. We rob them of closeness, like true closeness and intimacy. And it's interesting to me too, like in a similar vein, when we have these moments where it's like people like our stuff and we're like, oh, come on now.
Stop
like
it.
That's robbing them of almost like agency in a way, like robbing them of being like, oh, you have no taste, what are you saying?
Yeah,
you know, as opposed to being like, oh my God, I respect you and I respect your opinion.
Yeah.
Like, that is very cool. You know, like it's this weird interplay of like, we feel like it's about ourselves, and it is, but it's also about like not valuing other people's opinions. Yeah. You know, in the way that we value them too much.
Yeah. It's everything in life is so give and take and push and pull, and like nothing is black and white. There's always a gray area somewhere in the middle, somewhere you can find it, and we just. Why do we do that to ourselves? Especially as creatives, why do we do that to ourselves?
Pain is fun.
Hence the tattoos.
Right, yeah. And I would be very curious what it would look like to not, because I know for me, like a lot goes back to like Christian upbringing, you know, like one of the, and I remember this very clearly, one of my big takeaways was like, don't be proud. Don't have pride. That's one of the 7 deadly ones. That's going to get you know, because there were certain things I always was really good at, you know, and I just had innate ability towards certain things, but I always would tell myself, like, hey, pride goes before the fall. That's one of those, you know, I'm sure it does other things. But like, and I always remember just telling myself, like, that's not good. Don't do that. And I wonder what it would look like. And I'm sure there's some people listening and just in existence who grew up in ways that celebrated and taught a healthy balance of like celebrating wins and like being able to gracefully accept losses. But I just don't know what that looks like.
And see, I was raised that way. My mom, and I'm going to talk about my mom again. Yeah. My mom and my siblings, they all celebrated me and they all made me feel encouraged and they wanted me to celebrate my wins. And when I didn't get something or when something bad did happen, they also encouraged me through that. And I'm like, that's that is the reason why I do keep going, even when there are losses and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But somewhere along the way, I taught myself to stop being proud of my wins. Like, and the losses don't hit me hard. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I might have a downward spiral for a minute and then bounce back. But somewhere in my 32 years of life, somewhere in the middle there, around the 16-year-old age, my brain was like, okay, no. Actually, I think I know exactly what it was. But no more. Like, you don't get to be proud of this anymore. I know exactly. Wow.
When it's interesting as you say this, because like, and maybe this is going to be accurate, maybe not, but what came to me, like just popped into my head as you're saying that, I was like, do you think it's possible there's a part of you, like at that point, for whatever reason, felt like I don't deserve this?
Oh, absolutely.
You know? Like I don't deserve to have people celebrating me.
Absolutely.
Like I don't deserve to have like good things or peaceful roads and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. And I've said that. I mean, the fact that I'm in a relationship for 7 years, my partner and I have been together for 7 years.
Wow.
I, for the longest time, didn't think I deserved to be loved. For the longest time, didn't think I deserved a relationship, didn't think I deserved anything. And so that absolutely is a part of it. And that all goes back to one very specific incident. And I'll write a play about it someday.
And it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be pretty cool, I guess. I don't know.
It's going to be great.
It'll be all right. No.
It's going to be... I keep... What's that? Sound of awards. Oh, my God.
So, we're going to round out the episode here. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. But this has been just absolutely lovely. And it's so good just to see you in person and actually talk to you face to face after 1 billion years. So here on Mental Health Chat Monday, we have a motto. It's called Turning Mental Illness into Mental Wellness. What does mental wellness look like to you?
Oh, mental wellness for me, I think is... I have 2 answers to that. Mental wellness as a phrase, to me, means accepting the mental illness, you know, and being able to accept... And even for people, listen, even for normal people out there who supposedly don't go through anything.
Supposedly.
Apparently people like that exist. I don't know about
I'm not that one.
But for anyone, like, you're always going to go through something. You're always going to have, like, a setback, whether or not it's coming from your own brain, it's coming from inside the house, you know, or, like, it's just life stuff, the broader picture in the world. There's always going to be something, like... And being able to be kind with yourself and also allow yourself to experience that, and allow yourself to experience whatever it is you need to experience, and honor that and validate that. If you have the means, see a therapist. Like, it's, even if you don't feel like anything's wrong, like, just give it a try. Just go in there and see what comes up. You
never know.
You never know. But there's a balance, I think, between let yourself feel it and then let yourself move on. Like, don't let mental illness be an excuse for bad behavior. You know, like it's very easy to be like, you know, this is just how I am. And that can be true, but you also have agency. You also have a choice to seek the appropriate methods of care and methods of help. And it's hard because shit's expensive. Shit is it's hard to get in with psychiatrists and therapists these days, you know, but like, if you were trying your best, just try your best. You know, that's the biggest thing. Try your best, feel those feelings, and be accountable for those feelings. Yeah. You know? And I think when mental wellness, for me specifically, is, you know, in that same vein, like, be okay getting down to those deeper areas, and like, maybe open a couple of the compartmentalizing boxes and just see what's in there, you know, before getting into a really spicy situation. But also kind of going back to the idea of like feeling uncomfortable when people are praising you or something like that, being okay to ask for help, being okay to ask for what you need. You know, like, if you're in a position where it's like, hey, I need a second to process this, or I need a compliment, or I need to hear XYZ, whatever. Being okay to ask for that, and being able to process, like, maybe finding out what it is that you need, you know, because I think a lot of us don't know that a lot of the time. So
no, we don't. I know we don't, and we're definitely taking time to process is one of those things that I'm like, I need that.
The world is fast.
The world is fast.
And we're busy.
The world is fast and we're busy. And I just want to like push pause on everything. I want everything to stop, process, and then maybe not push play. Actually, just leave it pause.
Just, you know what? We're done. Given that, I will say there's two things that I would recommend as well. One, a book that I started reading for a class that I absolutely love, and then ADHD got the better of me, and I stopped reading it for a minute, and it died to me for a while. But I love this one. It is called Radical Acceptance.
Oh, I've been told about this book. Many times. I need to read it then. At least 4 people have told me about it, so it's time for me to read it. Yeah, and so the very beginning, it is a doctor of psychology, ? Tara Brach, I believe her name is. But the very beginning, there are some moments where she's talking about Buddha. She's a Buddhist, and she's talking about that. A couple moments where I'm like, that doesn't really resonate with me. But there's so much good stuff in there, like about how, you know, the idea is accepting your feelings, accepting yourself. And it's one of the first places that I read the idea of, like, your feelings are based in your body. Your feelings are literal things that your body is experiencing, and then we put feelings to them. And being able to process through that and understand that. And as for what you were saying just now, the other one, which I planned to read, but it was gifted to me by somebody who I really trust and is another mental health person. It's called Rest is Resistance. And just given the busyness, wanting to press pause and like get some rest and give yourself space to process. Rest is Resistance does talk about how, like, it is a resistive act towards the negativity and things like that, to give ourselves space to process and rest and things like that. So Rest is Resistance. I'm gonna have to read that one too. I'm very bad at resting. Like, one day I had like a day off.
Did you?
I did. No, genuinely.
Okay.
I had a full, and I have many of them, but I filled them with things. But this was like one where I was intentional about like not doing anything.
Yes.
And I'm sitting on the couch. I made myself breakfast. I'm watching anime. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite way to start the day. A cup of coffee, scrambled eggs, and anime. That's
I love it.
Love. My partner comes through the door. He's like, yay, you're sitting on the couch. How do you feel? Do you feel rested? And I was like, I wish I was good at resting. I just feel bad that I didn't do anything all day.
That's how it gets you.
And he was like, we gotta figure this out. Like,
you know, but like it's the idea of like taking care of yourself first. It's like you're not going to be as successful doing other things if you don't like give yourself some recharge.
Yeah,
you know?
you can't fill your cup if your cup is empty.
Right.
Or you can't fill other people's cup if your cup is empty. I'm working very, very hard at being good at resting. I want so bad. I want it so badly that I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that thing. And then I'll sit on the couch and fester like,
I feel it in my bones.
I hear the sewing machine calling me.
Yeah, well, like, and I feel like for people like us too, like, we legitimately have a lot going on.
We really
like,
do.
It's not like, well, I should be writing in my journal right now. It's like, well, this thing is coming up at this point. This thing is at this point. This deadline's here. This is here. Like, and it's like, that makes anytime you're not doing anything incredibly visceral.
Yes, it does. And like, I think a lot of that sometimes, especially I'll speak for me, is like putting those things on myself so I don't have time to rest. And that's a lot of why I stopped acting, because I was doing so many shows and I was in such a bad place mentally that I was like just piling show on top of show on top of show on top. I was literally at a point where I was like rehearsing during the closing weekend of a show for the next show.
Yeah.
Which is great, and I was glad to be booked, and I was glad to be getting paid, and it was cool, and I was whatever, but I was like, girl,
this is too much.
You're doing too much.
Yeah.
And yeah, as creative people, we just put so much on ourselves. And for me specifically, I'm like, maybe if I pile more things on my plate, I won't have to worry about resting.
Well, and like, to that end too, maybe if I'm busier, I won't have to feel my feelings. You know, maybe I won't have to think about the things that sit down there in the basement.
That have my face.
Right.
The things down there that have my face, I hate them. Why are they there?
And thus we come full circle.
Full circle, right back to the beginning. So leave us with a piece of advice for those of us who are on our mental health journeys, or allies of those of us who are on our mental health journeys. Leave us with a little piece of advice on how we can navigate that.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to ask for help. And validate yourself. You know, it's real easy to get stuck in a cycle, especially if you're feeling depression and things like that. Like, well, I'm just feeling like this. It's my fault. Like, I should be doing that. Nobody wants to be around me because I'm feeling this way. Like, it's okay to be feeling what you're feeling, you know? And again, like, be responsible for your feelings, you know, and own it, but also let yourself be there if you need to. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And then once you feel it at a certain point, like, make the choice and be... And I say that very... As somebody with depression, like, you know, it's not like you just suddenly make a choice and like, no. I'm going to do things now, you know. But at a certain point, celebrate your, like, even little things. Like, I brushed my teeth today. Yeah. You know, and things like that. And just allow that to build on. Like, just be... I think it all comes to just be good to yourself. Be nice to yourself. We're very mean to ourselves.
We really are so mean to ourselves.
You know, like, if you're feeling in a rough way, like, it's okay. It's okay. And it may not feel like it's okay, but you're okay. Yeah. You know, and even if you're not okay, you're still okay.
My favorite quote is, life is not about surviving the storm. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And that sentiment, celebrating those little moments, the small victories sometimes feel better than the big ones. Like, I woke up today. Cool. I got out of bed. Cool. I put my slippers on. Cool. Like, it took me learning how to do those things to get myself to the point now where I'm like, okay, let's tackle the big thing of celebrating the big wins and letting them be celebrations. My play, My Infinite Sadness, that I wrote that premiered like 5 or 6 years ago. Nope. 6 or 7 years ago.
What even is time?
An illusion, truly. But there's a line in the play where I say, I'm here to make you feel your absolute worst, even at your absolute best. And that is one thing that we as people with depression, people, creatives, people with any type of mental illness, we struggle so hard with, like, just being okay. And I've been saying that a lot to people, especially in grief. If I tell you I'm okay, I'm winning. Like, if I tell you I'm doing okay, that's good. I need you to celebrate that with me, because a lot of the times, okay is like just the bare minimum for a lot of people. But for people like us, sometimes it's like, okay is the top of the chart.
Well, and the thing too is like, celebrating a major win is great, but like sometimes more effort will go into the simple things, the smaller things, because that's when you're really struggling.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so important to give yourself validation. Like, it is so important. Like, don't push little you aside. Don't be like, why are you feeling this way?
Yeah.
You know, don't be a brat. Like, I mean, speak to yourself nicely, you know?
Yes. Speak to yourself nicely.
Nicely.
I'm looking at you if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on wherever you listen, I'm looking you dead in the eyes and I see you. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah, and like, and it's so hard because, you know, again, like being responsible for your own feelings, you can feel in a place where you're not in control of yourself. You can feel in a place where you're completely stuck.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, you're the only person who has control over yourself, even in the times when it, like, look for a time when you do have control.
Yeah.
You know, look for those lights in the clouds, you know, and celebrate that and take it just one small step at a time. Like, if all you have in you is a small step, do what you can, take that step. And if it doesn't work, rest. If it doesn't work, just be nice with yourself, you know? And if you have the ability to get more resources, like, absolutely do that. You know, like medication, therapy, like talking to people, online resources, things like that. Like
Reddit, apparently.
You know, like in certain places, and I say that carefully because there are some dark
places on Reddit.
It can be real bad.
It's really funny. I was listening to I listened to Smosh read Reddit stories.
Me too.
Yes, every Saturday, and I missed the one yesterday, so I was listening to it before you got here. Like when you pulled up, that's what I was listening to.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that you brought up Reddit. There are some deep dark places on Reddit, but there apparently are very beautiful communities as well.
Yeah, and it's almost like with social media, you can curate your experience in a lot of ways.
I need more people to realize that. You can curate your social media. You can do it. It's very easy.
I mean, to a degree, you can curate your life, too. Somebody being toxic, you don't necessarily have to see that person.
No, you don't.
You know? If it's your boss, maybe you have to see them a little bit. But
you know, I've ignored people at work actively. I'll do it.
You too can ignore someone at work.
You too can ignore that bitch that you don't like in cubicle 4. Or if you work in a restaurant. Fox, it's been so amazing having you here today. I'm so glad we finally got. We've been trying to hammer this in for like a month.
It has been, yes.
Crossing paths, but it happened. Everything happens for a reson.
It does.
And when it's supposed to happen. I believe that very deeply.
Absolutely.
Promote yourself.
Yeah. So, I am a licensed tattoo artist now. So if you are needing some ink done and you are in the St. Louis area or wanting to travel, I do travel people as well. But you can check my website out, rocketfox.com. It has my art, my tattoos, some uplifting stuff for you if you want to check it out. I am in June, which may or may not be relevant depending on when this comes out.
No, it will. This honestly will probably come out at the end of May, so yeah.
Oh, awesome. In June, I'm going to be guest speaking at the Paranormal Convention in Chicago.
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wait, hold on. We got to talk about this for a minute. I love paranormal. So.
Oh. So the other thing, I'm in a paranormal show.
What?
So get excited. So this show is called Liminal, and the pilot came out already. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. Liminal TV show, and essentially, the main host, like it's their TV child, you know. But essentially, the idea of looking at the paranormal through the lens of the queer and trans experience, and like how the idea of there is something magical about that experience because we're used to living in in-between spaces.
Oh my God.
So we're a little more in touch with the paranormal.
That's Liminal?
Yeah.
I will be watching the second you leave the home.
Well, and I will tell you, the pilot episode, there is something at the end that happens with snakes.
I'm not scared of snakes. I love
Oh, no. But it was very cool.
Oh.
It was very, very, very spooky.
I will be linking that down below as well. So you're going to be speaking on a panel?
So I'm actually going to be storytelling.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to talk about your story. Wait, we might have to keep going a little bit.
So I'm going to be doing some storytelling for this. And I'm super excited. This is going to be the first year for this convention, the Paranormal Festival in Chicago. And one of the things that one of the creators of it had actually talked to me, because they came to me to be in it, and one of the things that they had mentioned is they're like, I've been to a lot of paranormal conventions, and one of the things that they hadn't seen is a lot of diverse voices and things like that, and that's something they really wanted to highlight. And so, yeah, the overall theme for this one's going to be storytelling, which is really exciting.
You are the most excellent person for that.
So excited. And it was just released that there's going to be online tickets as well. So if anyone can't make it in person, you can get like an online weekend ticket and then watch it live streamed.
Okay,
as well.
yeah. I am going to link all of that down below, and I will probably be in the online queue. I don't know. When is it?
It's June 12th through the 15th, I believe. That's what I want to say the timing is.
If the timing is different, it'll be linked down below, but I believe you.
Thank you. You believe me more than I do. But yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And for Liminal, we did record the next 2 episodes. Okay. So they are in process of being edited and are going to be released. We actually crowdfunded to get the next 2 episodes done.
That is amazing. Oh my God. And I now am remembering seeing something about you being in the paranormal show. So I will be watching. I might wait to watch that with Ronnie tonight because he loves paranormal stuff too. So
yeah, well, like the first episode, the one that's out, we went to Tennessee to investigate the Bell Witch. Very interesting phenomenon.
I've watched so many videos and like shows and oh my God.
So we go to the town where it took place. But it's so interesting. The 2 hosts end up interviewing a whole lot of people from this area that identify as queer or trans, and like what their experience has been living there, how they relate to magic, and like how they relate to the paranormal and things like that. But also just like, what's it like living in rural America with this identity, you know, and like, what is that experience? And especially during the times that we're in now, it's really
scary.
Poignant.
Yeah, especially to be living in Tennessee.
So, and then the next ones, the second episode, which is going to be coming out, is all about a mutual friend of ours who is a necromancer and mortician. So does a lot of death work. And then the one after that is about mermaids. So yes. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see those when they're released.
Cannot wait. Y'all, this is genuine excitement on my face. I love the paranormal. My partner and I both love the paranormal. If y'all could see our full apartment, you would know that there was a lot of spooky,
fantastic.
Paranormal.
Immaculate.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah. Oh my God, that's going to be so cool.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. There's a lot of good stuff going on, but yeah, I mean, give a follow. I always post about stuff that I'm doing, just on mostly Instagram and Facebook. I've been doing a little bit of TikTok more until it goes away, apparently.
I came back to social media the day TikTok was banned in America. So I deleted all the apps off my phone. I was like, I don't even want the temptation to try and get back on. I logged out and I deleted everything, and then when I came back, it is beautiful. It really, I probably have said this every episode. I encourage everybody to delete social media off your phone for a month or 2 and detox and engage with the real world. I went to concerts during that time. I did a bunch of stuff. It was great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But when I tried to re-download TikTok, I couldn't download it. Really? And I was like, I didn't want to come back to TikTok anyway.
Was meant to be.
Was meant to be. I keep thinking I'm going to download it and delete my account, but I also just don't care.
I mean, at least you know now no one can impersonate you.
You can't impersonate me.
There is only one.
There is only one, and there is only one Fox Smith.
Thank you. Although I will say, there is one other Fox Smith who friended me on Facebook. It's this, like, older African-American jazz drummer.
I love
who just like who found me and friended me because we have the same name, and I was like, we're twins. is.
Yes.
I adore him. We interact with each other on occasion. I don't know this person from anybody in the universe, and it's just we have a shared name.
Shared name, and now you're besties.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. He's very cool.
That is incredible. I love that. Oh my god, I have loved having you in my home.
Yes, thank you.
So
It's
much.
been such an honor. Thank you so much for having me. This is such important conversation and such important stuff to address and talk about, and getting so many different perspectives I think is just amazing. So
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for your candor always.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Mental Health Chat Monday. This will likely be the last episode of this season, but we will be back in a couple weeks for season 2. Hold on to your butts. It's going to get even crazier. I don't know why I said hold on to your butts.
Well, now everybody's holding onto their butts.
Now they're all holding their butts. Oh God, you gotta hold your butt for a couple weeks. No, thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, my name is DDare Bionic. I will link everything for Fox down below. Please check out everything that she is doing. It is incredible. An incredibly talented human being sits here across from me. And you can find me on all social media, Blue Sky, Instagram, and what's the other one? Facebook, at DDare Bionic. It's called branding. Look it up. I will see you all next time. Love you. Mean it. Bye.